Good evening, known world. I'm Excellency Rahmut al-Tayyiba, coming to you out of the Kingdom of Artemisia in the Barony of Bronzehelm, and with me today as my guest is Her Excellency Penelope, the Baroness of Bronzehelm. My friend, please tell our audience why you're amazing, other than the fact that you are one of my dearest friends.
Because I married an awesome husband. No,
there's a check that was written, and I know that he has got that for you.
Good. No, I'm actually the Baroness of Bronzehelm in the Kingdom of Artemisia, and I really enjoy. I'm a pelican, so I enjoy service, and I enjoy meeting and talking with many new people when we go to events.
This is factual. So let's start off with, when did you start playing?
I started playing, I'm going to say the summer of 2007. We had recently moved to Montana, my children and I. And I worked with Killian, who is Sir Killian, my husband now, and he convinced us to come down to the park and hang out, and the kids had a good time. I had a good time. The people there were just amazing. Some of my closest, dearest friends were at the park that day. You weren't there. You were there a couple of weeks later, but it still is quite amazing to me that I would have missed out on all these great people that I know and love if I hadn't gone to the park that day.
Yeah, see, doing something weird and fun, look what it leads to. So you've obviously been playing for quite a while. As landed Baroness, we do want to make sure that it is noted that the views and opinions expressed today are those of us as the participants and does not reflect any official position or policy of the SCA Incorporated.
Understood.
Okay, sweet. And, just gotta throw that out there. Oh, and sometimes Her Excellency and myself, although we try to be very cognizant of our word choices, we do use offensive language, and we do apologize and want to make sure that that is clear and upfront. I'll try to be good. I'll try.
I will too, I promise.
So when you first started, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you had children and there was a huge void that made it very difficult to participate in the group at the time, which was a shire, you took an officer role almost right away.
I did. After we went to our first event, I noticed there wasn't a whole lot for our children to do while we were at an event. And trying to keep them entertained and be interactive with other things was very difficult for me. So I asked questions. I found out from the then Seneschal about a position for youth minister, and I asked what was, required for that, and background check and the willingness to be around children all day at an event. Well, I've got a child mind, so I was quite happy to do that, and so I planned. The next event was 12th night.
Mm-hmm.
And I planned like a youth carnival, and I fell in love with it. I enjoyed myself so much because I got to play with not only my children, other children that were there, and I got to know their parents, and it just helped me get more involved with the society.
Definitely. And as youth minister, and those activities at that carnival were amazing, by the way. Not that I have to tell you again, because I told you then too. And it was fun. But that role, when it comes to retention and recruitment, is such a kind of an undervalued role.
Right.
Because it plays such a large part in growing exponentially. I mean, we could, bump into a coworker at work and invite them to an event, and it's just them. If they're a single person, one person. But a family where it's, potentially a parent and a child, or multiple children, or multiple parents and multiple children, that's much more than just one person we're adding at a time. So
right.
They feel kind of included and invested.
Well, I'm a firm believer that, not only in mundane world, but in the society, the youth is our future, and keeping them entertained and interested, and making them feel wanted and welcomed is just as important as making their parents, their adults, to feel welcome and wanted at an event.
Definitely.
And having something for them to do is really important.
Gosh, I was actually lucky enough to be at an event with Her Excellency just yesterday. And once again, she is a pelican, and it definitely comes across in everything she does that she's a pelican as well as a baroness of, a barony. She really engaged the youth and made them feel valued and appreciated and needed. You want to talk about what you did, or you want me to keep tooting your horn?
No, you can toot my own, thanks. No. Well, when we first got there, we gathered up the children, and I had them come over, and I like having little things for the children to do. Our previous king and queen, Yuri and Samaya, had a toy box, and they would let the children pick something out of the toy box. So of course, I've got a toy box, I'm going to take it. So, and I always make sure there's, a puzzle or a little painting thing or a game. And of course, the sugary candy stuff that everybody loves in there. And I let them pick something out. And throughout the day, when I saw someone do something really neat or cool, I'd have them go get something out of the box. Or towards the end of the day, I gathered them all up again, and I explained to them that to have an event, it's really important for everybody to be involved. That means everybody helping do the setup and having fun during the day. And at the end of the day, it's really important for everybody to help clean up. And some people would call it bribe. I call it an incentive that they could pick something else out of the toy box once they picked up all the trash and put all the toys that were provided for them at the event away. And lo and behold, what was there, 6 or 7 children there, and they were off cleaning up the trash, putting
Definitely
the toys away, everything. So,
and they were like an efficient unit of a military force kind of going through the event and just taking care of it.
But I
And
wanted to make sure that they felt involved throughout the day.
and then when you called them up at court to recognize them and thank them for it, I believe several of the children even said how important, like, and they repeated the words that you gave them, and they were all smiling and they were all happy and they were proud of what they had done. Just like as adults, when we volunteer and provide a role in the SCA, we're more likely to stay, but we're also proud of ourselves. And it's no different for the youth of the SCA.
Correct.
So it was kind of moving. Our dear friend Aslak, the awful Master Aslak, he also needs a toy box now. I think it's a good idea.
Sometimes I will also bribe an adult.
I mean, anything that I could color or draw with or put together, I usually am also bribable with puzzles and
there's candy in there.
Ooh. Candy's dangerous for me. Do I need sugar?
I agree with you that even just saying thank you or giving someone a small token that says thank you makes them feel like, oh, someone paid attention to me. You know, they know that I did something. Or on the other end, when it was me, I'm like, oh, I tried to not be seen. You know, and like, you saw me do that, huh? Great. Thanks.
But and it's not like your friends will tattle on you ever.
No, it's, you know, even when you're at your job, sometimes a kudos or an attaboy, you know, makes does a lot.
Special.
Makes you want to stay.
We have a comment from Lord Trigby. They carry cool rocks and candy to give out to kids and adults alike. Excellent. We love it.
Love it. Love it. Very important.
So how many years did you serve as youth minister?
5 years.
Which is a very long time.
It is for any office.
It is for any office. And it's a position that sometimes kind of gets misunderstood.
Yes.
How it kind of works. Because it's not a babysitting job.
It's not. It is not. And sometimes it gets used as one, which is unfortunate, but
now
rules change that.
Because SCA does not have paid babysitter kind of thing, but having a family at one point that with young children, with friends and other people in SCA that also had families with young children.
Correct.
The strategy that you kind of came up with, that I know it happens in other groups, kind of really helps retention because it helps increase enjoyment.
Right.
Do you want to talk about the campsite shift trade-off kind of give and take that you kind of arranged?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, when we camp as a group, and invite many people in to camp with us, or even in the household we're in, and I would volunteer to stay in camp and let the parents and the other adults, we had some single moms, we had some parents that really the only time they got together is when they were at an event, and we would trade off. I would stay in one night with all the youth, make sure everyone stayed safe, and the next night someone else would. It worked really well at Uprising and Estrella, and you know, it's a great trade-off because even if your child is going to sleep all night because you know they're going to sleep all night, you want someone in the camp just to make sure they're going to be safe. And trading off worked well for all of us.
Well, and it definitely alleviated like lots of feelings of guilt. So when you have children in the game, you don't want them to be bored, and you also want to not be bored, and you want to experience all the things. So rather than be guilty, talk to the people in your shire who are camping. Yeah. Talk to the people in your barony. Talk to the people in your canton, your college, whatever. Like, there's no reason we can't help each other out in a way. Now, obviously, you want to make sure you're not actually asking complete strangers, hey, I know we're camping together. I don't know you, but would you watch my kids tonight? Don't do that,
Make
obviously.
those arrangements with the groups before you go. I mean, even now, because all of our children are adult and off in their lands, and even now, when you're going to be camping in a group, like I know we have an event coming up that's a camping event, and we'll be in a group and other groups. If you have your children there, ask someone in your group, hey, would you mind, since I heard you weren't going out tonight, or would you mind staying in tonight? Ask. There's always, I mean, we're a group that trade, All right, well, I don't mind staying in and watching your children tonight. Tomorrow, you get my kitchen duty. It's it's that trade. So even if I don't have children, I'm willing to sit and watch a child while someone goes has a good time, because that's how I like to play the game. I like to help other people have a good time.
And that definitely, that kind of satisfaction by having that a little additional freedom and that camaraderie and that partnership between other, parents definitely makes it a lot more enjoyable. And you don't feel like, well, I'm going to go to this camping event and I'm going to try to do all the things, but I can't do any of the things because I've got my kid and my kid limits me. Well, your kid shouldn't limit you. You should be doing activities with your kid that are enjoyable. But at the same time, it's good for your kid to have some things away from you if it's possible. And at the same time, you need some time away.
And if you're with a group and they're going off to doing stuff down at kids' court, but there's a class that you want to do at the same time, or you want to go watch the fighting or anything like that, hey, I understand you're going off to do this today. Can my child join you? And tomorrow I'll take them down there. I mean, you got to be able to communicate and talk and trust people that you're with.
Definitely.
And if you're camping with them, you should be able to trust them and know who they are. And even if you're just brand new, if you're camping with them, ask.
Definitely.
One of our viewers can tell you, no, I'm not comfortable watching your child.
Or, I don't know you enough yet. How about we spend some time together with my child and your child and I and you, and we talk and we figure out, hey, do we gel? Are we simpatico? Maybe not. Maybe yes.
And I know that I always try and introduce them to other children in the group too, just so, I know if I was that age, I would want someone to be able to talk to and all that. So
definitely. One of our viewers here, Thora, she comments how in her barony, like they're always willing to help out. Found out when they came to an event at Ren Fair, they're able to at least have somebody to watch their children while they went to the bathroom, which is important.
It's very important.
I can't tell you when I started playing with my son, because I started in SE before I had a kid, and then once I had a kid, because I was on a little break, started playing again. It was not a problem when he was a baby, taking him to a porta-john with me. I mean, it was uncomfortable and it was difficult to manage, but until he was, old enough to be like, oh my God, Mom, you have to pee. Yes, I have to pee. And, if I didn't have somebody to watch him, it would be like him standing outside the porta-john. I'm like, I want you to keep tapping on the porta-john and talking to me while I'm going to the bathroom, which is super awkward. We shouldn't have to do that. But sometimes we don't have anyone. So, I mean, it happens.
I got a great story for that one.
All right, let's hear it. I'm all about stories. Story time.
Speaking of helping out and watching someone's child, our wonderful Veronique, we were at, I believe it was 50 year. Yes. And their darling little girl, I was watching her and I'd walked her to the restroom, to the porta potty, and she wanted to do it by herself.
Well, she was at that age.
She was at that age,
and Veronique,
she wanted to be there by herself. So I stood outside the door. I heard her lock the door. She did her business, and she couldn't get out. She couldn't unlock the door to the porta potty. I love her. I love that little golden child. But I was laughing so hard I couldn't help her. mom runs over, and then someone else came over and flipped the thing. But I was laughing so hard because she had left herself in the bathroom. I felt like the horrible babysitter that I am. But,
His Grace Damon has confirmed it was indeed 50-year.
Yes, I scarred her for life. But you know what? It's a great story, and that's just, I have a close connection with her that I will always have, and she forgave me for that.
Yeah, so definitely. Most definitely. But I mean, that's important. There are times, especially if you are royalty, if you are king and queen, if you are prince and princess, if you are a landed baron and baroness, there are times where your children they have needs. And
right.
Sometimes you have obligations and kind of deciding, well, my kid's got to pee, but I need to be at circle.
Yeah.
Like, that is a struggle to make that decision, to make that call. And it's nice having people that you can trust that can help ease that burden. So it's a possibility for you to do those things, like be royalty. If you don't have that, it makes it extremely difficult.
Especially if you're reigning and you have a little one. Another good way to get to know the people around you is volunteer to sit behind the thrones. And this is how I started. I volunteered to sit behind the thrones and be a lady in waiting. And I ended up sitting back there playing with the king and queen at that time with their child while they did court and they had feast. And really, it was my first real interaction with the child, but I enjoyed it. I kept them busy, and their parents were able to do what they wanted to do and needed to do as sitting royals.
Definitely. Gosh, there's so many amazing instances of stories with children and how, as not just a youth minister, but how you helped alleviate a lot of issues that can cause problems in retention when you take that fear away.
Right.
Definitely. Let's talk about other jobs that maybe people don't like to do as much as youth minister, because you don't get to play with kids in this job. That are difficult, and sometimes feel extremely thankless, even compared to youth minister that you've done.
I was also the exchequer for our barony. I did 2 years in that office, and it's a thankless job, but you have to have it. You have to do it. And sometimes it got real difficult, when people's we clashed, when some people would clash, and it just didn't work. But I knew the job needed to be done, and that's how I volunteered to help the barony. Was I kept it, and I just kept going until, luckily, my mama bird was also an exchequer before me, and she knew how to guide me through everything. So that was a lot of help. And when I had a problem, I had special people that I'd run to ask for help.
And you continue to pay that forward, because my spouse happens to be the exchequer currently. And if he has any problems, you and your mama bird, who was the exchequer before him, and your mama bird's biological son in real life, mundanely, who is also an exchequer for this group, all step in and help him. And it's it's incredible, because I don't know about you, I would get frustrated. And I have, just knowing that as exchequer, you have a tendency to sit gate at events.
Right.
And at gate takes you away from your friends, your loved ones. It takes you away from opportunities for classes if you can't get somebody to cover it, because you are the responsibility. You and the seneschal. That's your job.
Mm-hmm. But it's also a great opportunity to meet the new people that come in. And when they come in to check in at gate, it is your face they're going to see, and it's your attitude they're going to instantly, first impression. So I didn't mind it, because I got to say hi to people. And you have to understand that before I joined the SCA, I was very shy. I was very timid. I was afraid to go to the store by myself. It was those kind of things. It was able to bring me out of my shell. So when I'm sitting at gate, I like to say hi, and I like to point things out to anybody that's just showing up, and I'll help them get some garb on, or if they're not comfortable with that, fine with me. Let's go for a walk. That was the fun part of Exchequer for me, was just sitting gate and being able to say hi to everybody that came in, new, even, I don't want to say old, because that's just not right.
Existing
Existing
members.
members. There you go. Thanks. I needed that. You got the brain. And so that is another office that it is thankless, and there's a lot of numbers.
But having that perspective of, I get the opportunity to sit gate, and I get to meet everybody who comes in and greet them, versus I have to sit gate and miss out, which that perception change or tweak definitely improves the experience,
right,
by taking that office and holding that office, which could lead and can lead generally to burnout and dissatisfaction.
Right.
So that philosophy really works.
And when I was doing Exchequer, I would invite someone to sit with me so I could show them what I was doing and how I was working.
And make it a little less intimidating.
And plus, like I said, walking them around and introduce them to people. That's how I was able to help out being an Exchequer.
I love it. So let's talk about something else you do. You have the honor and privilege of being able to do now as a landed baroness.
Yeah.
That definitely improves retention and recruitment within SEA, especially for newcomers, especially when it comes to court and retinue. You want to talk about that?
One of my favorite things to do is, and I don't get to do it very often anymore, but I know one of my favorite people, her first event, I asked her to be a lady in waiting, and literally her first event, she walked in, her boyfriend at the time introduced her, and I said, "Hey, I got a job for you. Let's go hang out." And she hung out with me during the event, and I talked to her about being a lady in waiting and all the different things. And she now is armoring up, and she fights, and I will be asking her a special question at Scola, and
you gotta see if she wants to be a baby.
Yes, I'm going to ask if she would like a belt to be my protege.
Oh,
And that also another one who is part of our family now, her very first event, we kept her busy. It was wasn't it 12th night? Then it was her first event, and now she does all the things. And it was just, we made her feel welcome. And I try to do that with new people when they come up. I want to give them something to do.
It might have been a crown tourney, actually.
Oh, you know what? You might be right.
It was crown tourney.
It was crown tourney. But I want someone. That's a good way to get people interacting with other people too. Is
well, and you
don't. I got a pretty on. You want to follow and hang out with the cool kids? Let me show you something.
And that's
Even
one way.
I don't have this on. I want to bring someone around and show them.
Yeah, and you don't have to be somebody with a pointy, shiny hat. You don't have to be an excellency, a grace.
No,
you don't have to. You don't have to be their highness. You don't have to be their majesty. Like, hey, hi, I'm so and so. I've got this really cool thing I'm doing. You want to come over here and help me? I could really use a hand. And then I can take you and show you around and introduce you to people if you like. And, we can go do whatever. It'd be great. You just take people under your wing.
Yeah. And, sometimes it works great. And sometimes it's, whatever.
not everybody's always going to be a perfect fit. And a lot of that too has to come with something that you're very who you are. You are very much your authentic and true self, both in the SCA and outside of the SCA, which I think actually has a lot to do with how you come across to newcomers, how you come across to existing members, and how you interact. And I don't know if it's just a philosophy that you have about being your authentic self, or that's just kind of ingrained in your nature.
Well, like I said, I was very shy when I first, started the SCA, but I've come to learn that I don't want to be somebody fake. I want someone to know me for me, and being able to, say a cuss word now and then, or often. Then they know I'm comfortable with them because I'm not afraid to say what I want to say. But bringing them along and getting them to hang out and do new things, and I don't want to be the fake person, because they go to another event and I met this one over at this event, and let me tell you, I just felt like she was feeding me a line. I don't want to be the person feeding you a line.
No.
I want you to be the person that's having a good time, because it's a good time to be having.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely.
So I try to be me as much as I possibly can.
Definitely. Well, as your friend, I know that you are you all the time. There's no filter. She is herself 100% of the time. Well, maybe 99% of the time.
There are some times that I'll sit there very quiet because I don't want to say anything.
And that's just because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Exactly.
Because you wouldn't want to be hurt. I know how you
I will treat somebody how I want them to treat me.
Which is, it kind of falls under the rule of the SCA. Number 1, don't be a dick.
Yeah. Don't be a dick. Exactly. That's a very good rule to follow.
Definitely. And I know a lot of households and a lot of groups all have this policy, but you definitely walk the talk about making opportunities for newcomers or existing members to enjoy the game better, especially if they don't have the means. Especially if they don't have a way to travel as far.
I like to invite people to ride with us. I think you put it best was butts and seats.
Butts and seats. We like to fill seats with butts. We don't like empty seats. We butts and seats.
If I know someone really wants to go to an event, but they're worried about finance, or they don't have, the means to go, but they really want to go and they have the time off and blah, 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 I'll offer them a seat. Come ride with us. Or if they can't ride with us for some reason or another, I will ask around if someone will give them a ride, or if they mind all that. I don't mind sharing. I know we had one person in our group that just financially couldn't do all the things he wanted to do. So we would offer him a space in our tent. Or, if we got a hotel room, we got a queen and we'd split a room. I don't care about the money. If I'm going anyway, come on in. I was planning on going. It's not going to cost me anymore to share a ride or share a room or give you a space in the tent.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, because I still want this person to play and be around. Sorry.
Definitely.
That one was tough.
Oh, I did not mean to make my bestie verklempt. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we talk about retention and recruitment in the SCA, we don't talk about the importance of what happens when we're not at events. Those moments that we have together outside of an event that help draw us closer together at events. Sometimes those moments are soul touching. Sometimes those moments are hysterically funny. Sometimes those moments are a little wild and crazy. And sometimes they're scary as heck.
I'm trying to think of, oh no, which one is she bringing up?
Well, you want to pick the first one we bring up?
No, I'll let you.
Okay. So sometimes people who are in a group who do know each other and are kind of friends go on adventures without their other halves, without a lot of concern, but just it's a girls' night. It's a girls' night.
Yes.
And sometimes the unexpected happens that is scary and at the same time absolutely hilarious. And definitely
Are you talking about ANS Collegium?
I am. And it definitely brought, like, you and I were friends. You and
Yes.
Veronique were friends. Veronique and I were friends, but that oh my gosh bond moment happened in that completely scary and completely hilarious situation.
Yeah, I think that's where our brain split up into three.
I think so.
So we were in Ogden, Utah for
Yes.
our ANS Collegium. We decided the guys weren't able to join us, so the three of us took off by ourselves and went down for the weekend. And wouldn't you know it, I am just lucky enough and mouthy enough to meet the only drunk person in Ogden, Utah in public. We were in a pizza place and he tried to invite himself at our table. And we told him we were having a private conversation. He needed to go away.
We actually were.
We were talking, our stuff. And as
Her
we
Grace
were
Veronique
leaving,
was princess at the time?
I do believe so.
Yes.
She love her. As we were leaving, I explained to the gentleman that the booth could be his now. Take the seat, it's all yours. Well, that set him on a tangent. And as we were leaving, he was following us out the restaurant, yelling and screaming at us as we were walking down the street. And my lovely Rahmut had 2 arm braces on.
No, you had the arm braces.
Did I?
Yes, because that's why I handed you my glasses.
Oh.
And her Grace Veronique was princess at the time, and she couldn't get into any trouble. So I was like, well, somebody's got to take one for the team, and you can't because you're hurt. She can't because she's reigning royalty. All right, I'm taking one for the team.
That's how you became Scrappy Doo.
Yep. I did.
And luckily for us, Veronique had the bail money if we needed it. But luckily for us, we did not need any bail money. Someone from the restaurant pulled the guy back in and we went on our way. But it is true. That was just one of those trips that the three of us bonded and definitely sealed the deal of us becoming such close friends.
And another example that I want to bring up is when you have children and you travel at events and you travel with other people from your group, the unexpected can definitely happen. A lot of people traveling, from the same home group to an event, like to do what's called caravanning. Caravanning is kind of nice because you have people to kind of keep in touch. But sometimes, when you have children, the children become friends and kind of do a shuffling of vehicles between each stop. And you're friends with the parents in a sort of casual way, but when the unexpected happens, that kind of makes them really good friends. Do you want to talk about that moment with the car sickness ride with Lily and Katie?
Well, they're so sweet, and Desta did such a wonderful job. We would, the children would all, we would caravan, and most of our group would caravan together. And I'm just trying to, I have a hard time remembering some of these because there's so many fun things that we did as a group.
Well,
And I'm not talking about household. I'm actually talking about
as a barony, as a
as a
shire,
barony, as a shire, things that we would all do together. I do remember someone quickly pulling off the highway because somebody was getting sick in the back seat of their car, and
then
I don't know.
We all pulled over. You and Desta were talking about the sick kid that started the puking, the sick kid the kid that wasn't sick that didn't join in being sick, and then the rest of us tried to help clean as expeditiously as possible of the sick ick in the car.
Is that what all three girls were in that car, weren't they?
I think it was Rachel, Katie, and Lily riding with Desta. And it was like, boom, boom. One car sick. Oh, sympathetic puke.
But, that's just like when we would go, I would let Brandon ride with Tony, or you would let Tony ride with Brandon.
Yeah.
We're all caravanning, so it doesn't matter. We're all going to the same place. Again, butts and seats.
Butts and seats, and kids happy, parents happy.
Right.
Youth have somebody that they can relate to, and not in a boring car with just mom and dad, or just mom, or just dad.
Ride with them all the time.
Hey, I'm with my friend. And even if they're with their friend in the same car playing on their own Game Boys separately, or their own, Switches separately, or on their phones, they're still together, and that makes them happy because that apparently is hanging out.
Right.
I mean, I guess now sometimes we'll sit and hang out with just our phones, but we still talk out loud.
Yeah, I'm not a big person of just sitting there on my phone.
Cal has pointed out, this is called parallel play. Yes. I always like to call it the wireless LAN party. Because, I remember packing up, laptop or desktop or N64, Xbox One, or Xbox before that, and bringing it somewhere to play.
It's usually our house where everyone shows up to play, so.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, Nate's house, or Killian's house, before you and Killian were together, was a land party house.
Yeah.
That was a gaming house. Everybody brought their stuff over, and we played like Dungeons and Dragons Online, DDO. Or WoW.
WoW.
Wow. So funny story that I don't know if it changed your experience. And you're here and you can say. So when you first started dating your now husband, Killian.
Yeah.
And you hadn't gone to an event, but you had gone to the park. Had you not had the reception from everybody at the group at the park? And at the time I was in a wheelchair because I was recovering from a really bad accident. And my help, not having that, would it have changed your experience in the SCA? Not having people reach out and be available, or when you reached out, be receptive to that?
I think it really would have. If I didn't feel so welcoming and supported, because I had 4 children and my first event was coming up. That means I needed garb for 5 people to go to this event. And I had the support of you and Kathy. And if it wasn't for that support and that first impression I got at the park, then yeah, I probably would have just, well, you go have a good time with your friends.
Yeah.
Plus, I had 2 teenage boys at the time, and they enjoyed it, and they felt welcoming, and that helped a lot too. I wouldn't make them go someplace that they didn't feel welcome.
Now, getting the privilege of watching your children, who are all now adults, grow up, you definitely, and as a youth minister, you definitely embraced that, paying it forward aspect, but so did your children. And it was kind of really beautiful to watch how you aided and helped your children become leaders and mentors for younger children.
Right.
And kind of, passing that tutelage down and passing that, hey, let me show you mentality down. And how that kind of was an interesting strategy in youth, satisfaction in the SCA.
Yeah, actually it was. Our children are busy with their own lives, so they don't play as much. But what really makes me happy, what I love to see, is the children that were growing up with my children that are still in the SCA and participating. I'm so proud of them. I mean, the things they've accomplished in their own path in the SCA is just amazing. So, it might not have been my own children, but being able to be part of the other children's lives and their paths mean a lot to me. Definitely. It really does.
Definitely.
And hearing that your son's armored up today.
Oh,
now kills me.
For the first time at a fighter practice. Yes. It was kind of scary. Yeah. And they luckily super blessed. The individual that was willing to go first round with them, for the first time, the first dance, was somebody in our group who is a good friend as well, Lord Trickfy. And they were very kind and compassionate, very noble in their fight, and very chivalrous with their fight with my son. And oh my God, it was awesome. And, my son's a young adult, but he does have some he's a little different. We're all a little different. We're all somewhere on the spectrum. He's somewhere on there too. And it was nice to know that I could be happy that he was having a good time and that, he was okay. Because I can remember, one of his first events, him being, a baby or a toddler and getting stung in the hand by a bee. And I'm freaking out because I have anaphylactic reaction to being stung by a bee. And everybody there, and at the time there was a Kyrgyz, because it was an awesome role to have, and we were allowed to have that, coming and, and this is as we're leaving Uprising, coming in, sweeping in, and like getting the stinger out, and making a pumice out of water and some one of the cooking supplies they had, baking soda, baking powder. And
I think I really kind of miss having that security at an event was the Kyrgyz.
Definitely.
And one thing that I also miss that I wish that we could bring back is the water bearers. When those people, when they're the light and the heavy fighters and the armored fighters, when the armored fighters and the rapiers are on the field and someone brings them water, that's not just part of their group. It's just someone volunteering to help. I miss that. Well, I used to love volunteering to help.
And I think, especially now post, pandemic,
right?
Post-COVID, like obviously the whole being super safe, but that whole change that occurred, and I want to say it occurred either during like the Norwalk virus, really, like when that was big, or H1N1 in the society, where water bearers, like we suddenly were told, hey, you can't, go around bringing, the jug of water, the big old Gatorade thing and filling it up, and pickles and whatnot and oranges. Like it was told, no, sorry, no more. And we were kind of expanded.
And I understand the safety of it.
Definitely.
There's ways that we can do it safely, that we can still have volunteers.
And I think that obviously having gone through SCA in, lockdown times and then reopening, we definitely understand safer ways to do it. Right. Like there's a way I could water bear with a wagon full of bottled water.
Yeah.
I could put that tabard back on. I could dig it out of my storage, put that tabard back on and roll that. It's not official. And yes, households and groups and individuals do it, but man, it could still be official.
Right.
If there weren't other additional concerns, which obviously there were, because you could do it still safely for the most part. And Kyrgyz, I understand that office, the reason why that had to go away.
Yeah, I completely understand the reason. I was just saying, these are the reasons. Some of the things I miss from my first events was being able to help with all of that.
Well, and
that's what got me involved.
A huge volunteer opportunity because having stuff to do at events when you're new, having stuff to do when you're existing member, having stuff to do when you're an existing member who can't do all the things they used to do. It's important to have those opportunities. And water bearing and assisting the Kyrgyz. Like Kyrgyzs always, whoever was running the Kyrgyz tent, those Kyrgyzs always needed people to be runners, to deliver messages. They needed people to sit with people in the tents if there was an issue, people to drive and help transport if there was an issue. I mean, that was an important role to play. If you could volunteer for that, and it was a cushy gig because I have to tell you, those Kyrgyzs took good care of their volunteers. And as a water bearer, I mean, as that volunteer, you got to eat your fill if you like pickles. You got to eat your oranges, and you got fans, you got parasols. People would give you shade to make you shade to make sure, because like you're giving water and electrolytes to the people fighting, and they like watching the fighting, and it might be their loved one. Oh, here, have my parasol. Why don't you sit here for a little bit and use my parasol? Out of the blue, which made volunteering as that way more fun.
Right.
It wasn't so bad suddenly. And then you got to meet people that weren't fighting who were willing to talk to you. Kind of a good gig.
I learned a lot, handing water to somebody and talking to someone on the sideline, like, what just happened there?
Definitely. So looking back through the time that you've been in the SCA, is there a time where you started to experience burnout? Or
Yes.
get close to?
I did go through burnout. And basically all I really did was I just needed time away, not to play. But I never gave up on my friends, and they never gave up on me. They would call and check on me. They would see, we know you don't want to go to this event, but do you want to, do a stitch and bitch? Or, hey, I know you're not playing, but can you do a scroll? And just giving little tiny projects to me to keep me going in the SCA, even though I had stepped away for just a little while.
Definitely.
Just to not have anything to do, but I still needed something to do.
And it's okay and acceptable, and you self-care first. So if self-care says I need time for self, not time in hobby, it's all right. But as people still in the hobby and people who care about other members, it's important that we continue that reaching out.
Yeah.
So that reaching out.
Just check on your friends. I mean, even if they're not your friends, but you know that they need.
We're all friends.
Well, yeah, really. In the SCA, we're all friends, and most of us are related in some way. If you look at some of the household lineages, we're pretty much all related to somebody somewhere.
And if you're not in a household yet, that's just that magical word, yet. Or if you choose not to be, that's by choice. But your associations of friends who are in households, you're still some way interconnected. It's really kind of weird. It's like the 8 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game in the SCA.
Wow.
Depends on the kingdom. You could totally do that. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
His Grace Sean pointed that out to me. Like, hey, did you know, lineage-wise, here.
Right.
And I was like, oh, what? So.
But if I notice somebody just needs a little time, I'm going to let them have a little time, but I am going to check on them.
Out of all your strategies that you use, because you're really good at kind of spotting people that need that little extra attention, like what is the best strategy you have for retention and recruitment to improve both retention and recruitment and kind of prevent burnout or prevent dissatisfaction?
Be supportive. Even if they're saying that they just need to step away because they just be supportive. Say, you know what, I understand. I've been there. Even if you haven't been there, just say, I'm supportive. I understand. Let me, I will check on you. I will just, I don't know, be there. Just like you would, a family member, you would be there. You're going to let them do what they need to do.
And there are times where it doesn't work. And we've all been there where we lose members from our group. And
Yeah.
it is like losing a family member. It's like losing a cousin or an uncle. Even if you're not best friends with them, it still hurts. But it's still okay, even if they don't ever come back, to still check on them, to
Oh,
still
yeah.
be there for them, and to
There's a
still
few
reach out.
members of our group that no longer play. And I can tell you, we pass each other in the store and we make a scene. We stop and hug each other and we talk, tell about everything that's going on.
Mhm.
And, I'm still there. So if they ever decide that they want to come back, they know I'm still there to support them and help them.
Definitely.
And I invite them too. Every time one of our friends, I'm like, well,
You are always welcome back. Wink,
you're
wink,
always
nudge,
welcome back.
nudge.
As a matter of fact, there's an event at, one of those.
So, gosh, we've talked about a lot. I mean, there's so many aspects of what are little nuances in interactions in the SE that kind of build that retention and build those relationships that form those bonds that help improve and increase. Definitely has been amazing. We're going to talk really quick about what I got coming up and what Cal's got coming up next on Kal-bardr's Corner. So, coming up next on Coffee with Cal, we have Persona versus Sport with Captain Monster. I'm very envious of Captain Monster's name. I'm a little jealous. As a huge fan of Universal Monsters as a child, I somehow want to have a moniker or a name as cool as that. But we're going to deal with what I got because I kind of dig that too. Coming up next on Road to Retention, my rescheduled guest, Sir Breath Allen, on 5-7. I am excited to talk to them about all their amazing strategies on retention. For those of you who don't know, they are kind of one of the amazing individuals involved in the Reaper Challenge. Kind of the founder, kind of keeps the thing going, gets all the cool prizes, and I cannot wait to grill her on all of it. On top of being amazing, kick-ass fighter, peer, and human being. We're at almost the end of the show here. Is there somebody you want to shout out to? And if so, why you want to shout out to them? Or a group, or a group of people, multiple peoples, whatever's.
Well, I'm going to have to say my shout out needs to go to the Kingdom of Artemisia because we rock and we love them. And vivat to our king and queen, Timur and Tiana. I look forward to serving with you this reign. So, love you, Artemisia.
And I'm going to take a second before I do my shout out to talk about why it's important. The reason why I like to do shout outs at the end of the show is because I like to take that second to let people know that they're seen, to let groups know that they're seen, and to let them know that without their interaction, without their input or feedback, without them just doing what they do the best, people do not have the amazing experience that we have. Like, this is a super cool experience because of everybody that we've got to shout out on this show. From all my prior guests, from all my shout outs. And it increases in a digital world conversation. Well, so-and-so shouted out so-and-so. Wow, I don't know this person. I don't know this group. I don't know this organization. I need to go look them up. And looking them up and finding out who they are and deciding, hey, maybe I want to reach out to them. Maybe I want to get involved with them. You find and make connections that are so amazing and increase, once again, your satisfaction in the game. So it's important that we do it. And that's why it's such a big deal. And I wanted to take a moment to explain that. My shout out this week is to a former guest. It is to Moon Hides the Sun. They're constantly promoting and encouraging and inspiring individuals in the Kal-bardr Project Challenge. Unfortunately, I did not get to participate in that this year due to health. I haven't been able to do it in past years. I am planning now to participate in the next one because it's a great opportunity to make for myself items that I need, such as garb. And I just wanted to say thank you to Moon Hides the Sun because it's very inspiring, and it's nice to see that you are recognized for things that you don't think you should be recognized for, or that you're known for, and that you are more than just the Skraeling Saga. You are more than just the Kal-bardr Project Challenge. That you are pretty incredible. So that's my shout out for this week.
Wonderful.
So I want to thank our audience for joining in and adding conversation to our conversation, and all our viewers who didn't participate but were here to view and hear what we had to say. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Night.